the fact that they have him there. I think he'll be good in practice. He'll be good for some of those younger guys in helping them to prepare for a game and whatnot. And he's just also a really good guy.
Kevin Stefanski just dropped a bombshell. He's sticking with Shedeur Sanders no matter what new signings the Browns make. He made it clear that Sanders will be the go-to emergency quarterback moving forward, and that one statement lit up a storm of debates, because now the question is, if the Browns never planned on actually using Bailey Zappi, then why bring him in at all? Zappi wasn't signed to come in and take the spotlight as QB1. Everyone knows that. He was brought in as backup insurance, a break glass in case of emergency type move. That's why Stefanski's words hit so hard, because they basically confirm that if things get shaky, Shedeur Sanders is still the one stepping into the fire. Bringing in Bailey Zapp looks less like chasing a new star quarterback and more like stacking depth for the season. It's Cleveland's way of keeping the quarterback room thick with options without gambling the whole future on someone untested. To the outside world, it's a safety net. To Sanders, it's a green light that his shot at QB1 is still alive and waiting to explode when his moment comes. This move doesn't scream replacement for Sanders or even Dillon Gabriel, it screams strategy. The Browns don't want another injury crisis derailing their season. With Zappi on the bench, they're just making sure the team doesn't crumble if disaster hits. But make no mistake, Shedeur is still in that hot seat, ready to prove he belongs at the top. The Browns didn't just bring in Bailey Zappi for show. According to Mary Kay Cabot, his real purpose is to be the safety net behind the young quarterbacks this season. His role is less about stealing the spotlight and more about being the steady hand who keeps the QB room ready, prepping them for game day and stepping in if an injury disaster strikes. But here's where it gets juicy. Cabot also hinted that Zappi's arrival could be signaling something much bigger.
He hasn't done anything. I mean, he hasn't gotten in any trouble. I mean, he hasn't been saying the wrong things. He hasn't been a less than a model citizen focused on, being the best that he can be. He hasn't done anything. So I think that when we look at it, he's going in there, he's working hard, he's trying to improve every day.
Dillon Gabriel's name is suddenly being whispered in trade talks, and not just by small outlets. Multiple NFL teams are eyeing him, especially in the wake of Kenny Pickett's headline-making trade. That means Gabriel could be on his way out, and if that happens, Shedeur Sanders might not just be a backup. He could slide right into that second-string quarterback spot before anyone sees it coming. And then Stephen A. Smith jumped in, putting gasoline on the fire. He flat out said that Shedeur has already climbed past Gabriel on the depth chart, and he made it clear this wasn't just about one game. Even before the preseason drama, Smith claimed Sanders was showing a different level of poise, leading the huddle, staying undefeated outside of one minor setback, and earning trust in the locker room. Stephen A. isn't mincing words. He believes the Browns see Shedeur's raw potential, and they're betting heavy that he'll grow into a straight-up dominant force in the league. That's not just hype, that's pressure. And the spotlight is only getting hotter on Sanders every single week. Stephen A. Smith didn't just talk. He doubled down on Shedeur Sanders' rise, pointing out the serious momentum this young QB is carrying right now. He stressed that even before the most recent preseason snaps, it was already obvious. Sanders had leapfrogged Dillon Gabriel on the depth chart. That's not a small jump, that's a statement move. Smith made sure to highlight the receipts. Outside of a minor hiccup last week, Sanders has remained undefeated, proving his resilience under pressure. On top of that, his chemistry with teammates is growing stronger by the day, and his focus is locked in on sharpening every part of his game. In Smith's eyes, the Browns aren't just watching, they're betting on Sanders to grow into the kind of dominant player who changes the entire culture of a team. But here's where it gets even more dramatic. Stephen A.'s words line up with a surprising shift from Coach Kevin Stefanski himself.
Going in there, he's working hard, he's trying to improve every day. He's saying all the right things, trying to elevate his level of play. And remember, up until this past weekend, we did think there was a legitimate argument that he should have been higher on the depth chart than Dillon Gabriel because he performed better against Carolina than Dillon Gabriel had performed in the preseason game against the Eagles. It's just that obviously he nosedived over this last week, and so the tenor of the conversation changed.
Remember, this is the same coach who not long ago was openly critiquing Sanders, brushing off concerns and keeping him buried in the conversation. But once Kenny Pickett was traded, Stefanski's tune flipped. Suddenly, Sanders is back in the spotlight, getting that real shot at proving he belongs. That timing says it all. The Browns are no longer playing it safe. Stefanski's full commitment to Shedeur is a game changer, signaling that this isn't just preseason hype. This is Sanders' moment to show the league exactly why his name keeps climbing. The debate over Shedeur Sanders locking down that QB2 spot is heating up, and the analysts are split. But the spotlight keeps swinging back to Dillon Gabriel's size. Some experts can't get past it, calling it the silent deal breaker that could derail his shot at holding on to that role long term. Mike Tannenbaum gave Gabriel his flowers, praising the way he's handled preseason with skill and composure. But even in his praise, Tannenbaum couldn't ignore the elephant in the room, Gabriel's height. He bluntly warned that while Gabriel is talented, being undersized in the NFL is a glaring disadvantage that could push him right into a trade scenario. Talent matters, but when the physical frame doesn't stack up, it can slam doors shut in this league. Nick Wright echoed that same warning. He admitted Gabriel's got undeniable talent, but he didn't sugarcoat it. Size is the wall standing in his way. Wright reminded everyone that no matter how sharp Gabriel's arm looks, his physical limitations can't be coached away. That's the kind of hurdle that separates promising names from long-term starters. And this is where the comparison cuts deep. When you put Gabriel next to Shedeur Sanders, the difference is clear. Sanders has the natural build, the tools, and the future upside that make coaches and fans look twice. Gabriel flashes skill, but Sanders looks like the one built to last, and that reality might be the deciding factor in how the Browns move forward. Mike Florio, one of the NFL's senior voices, just stirred the pot even more. He claimed the Browns are seriously weighing a trade involving Dillon Gabriel, and if that happens,
Gabriel, who through no fault of his own commits one of my cardinal sins of quarterbacking, which is he's tiny. And so, he's tiny.
The whole QB competition inside Cleveland's locker room could collapse overnight. Losing Gabriel would thin out the battle, but at the same time, it could throw the spotlight wide open for Shedeur Sanders. Florio explained that if Gabriel gets shipped out, Sanders would have a golden chance to prove he's not just hype, but a real weapon waiting to explode. That move could cement him as QB2, maybe even faster than people expect, and make him a priceless piece for the Browns or any team desperate for a reliable young quarterback. And Florio didn't stop there. He reminded everyone that Kenny Pickett's exit already shook things up, and now the Browns may feel pressure to deal Gabriel while his value is still high. But here's the kicker. Sanders himself is basically untouchable. His massive fan base has made him too big to trade, and Florio warned that moving him would create chaos, backlash so loud the organization couldn't contain it. That's why Gabriel, not Sanders, looks like the trade piece on the table. The Browns know they can't risk losing their rising star and upsetting the fan base that's riding hard for him. Rich Eisen added fuel to the fire by saying if Gabriel is gone and Sanders gets that QB2 spot, it's only a matter of time before Sanders takes over the starter role completely. The stage is being set, and the drama is only getting wilder. Rich Eisen didn't hold back. He flat out said this shift is Sanders' big break. In his eyes, it's only a matter of time before Shedeur takes over the QB1 role completely, and he believes that moment could hit before the season even wraps up. The momentum around Sanders is undeniable right now. It feels like everything is lining up for him to grab control when the perfect window opens. And let's not forget Coach Stefanski's recent declaration, naming Shedeur as the Browns' go-to option if anything happens to Joe Flacco. On the surface, it sounded like a safety net move, but when you zoom out, it's way bigger than that. Add up Sanders' consistent growth, the coach's evolving trust, and all the trade chatter swirling around Dillon Gabriel, and the picture becomes clear. Sanders isn't being groomed as a just-in-case quarterback. He's being positioned as the future leader of this franchise. What started as whispers about his potential has turned into a loud conversation. Shedeur Sanders isn't waiting in the wings anymore. He's on the verge of stepping into the spotlight as Cleveland's next true QB1. The whispers inside Cleveland's camp are growing louder, and now the talk isn't just about Shedeur Sanders climbing the depth chart, it's about when, not if, he takes over completely.
This is one of the natural and foreseeable byproducts of drafting him. He comes to town with a built-in fan base. The mouth breathers, as you call them, are in tow. Not that I called them that, but you called them that.
Yeah, I did.
Analysts are already saying that Sanders' maturity under pressure has impressed veterans in the locker room, with some even claiming he's carrying himself like a starter before the title is officially his. Reports suggest teammates are rallying around him too, praising his calm voice in the huddle and his ability to read defenses with sharper instincts each week. That type of trust is rare for a rookie presence, and it's exactly what separates temporary backups from quarterbacks who seize the job when opportunity knocks. Meanwhile, Dillon Gabriel's future continues to hang by a thread. Every new rumor about a trade feels like another door opening wider for Sanders to cement himself as the heir apparent, and the front office knows the fan base is watching closely. The city of Cleveland has made it clear they're itching to see Sanders unleashed. The stakes have never been higher. If Joe Flacco falters, or if the Browns need a spark mid-season, Sanders won't just step in quietly. He'll have the entire football world watching to see if this is the moment he becomes the face of the franchise. The pressure in Cleveland is reaching a breaking point, and insiders say the coaching staff knows they can't afford to play it safe anymore. Every move Stefanski makes is under the microscope, and keeping Shedeur Sanders on the sidelines too long could backfire in a massive way. Some analysts are even warning that if Stefanski mishandles this quarterback situation, his own job security could be on the line. Fans are flooding social media, demanding to see Sanders get his shot, and the noise is impossible to ignore. The hype isn't just coming from outside voices either. NFL insiders believe the Browns organization understands that Sanders represents the future, not just a backup plan. His presence is forcing everyone, from coaches to management, to rethink how soon they're willing to hand him the reins. At the same time, Dillon Gabriel's situation only adds more heat to the fire. With trade talks swirling, it feels like every headline is clearing the path for Sanders to move up even faster. The Browns can't have one foot in the future and one foot stuck in hesitation. The fans in the league are both watching for the next big step. One thing is certain, the Sanders era in Cleveland doesn't feel like a maybe anymore. It feels like an approaching storm. And when it hits, the NFL won't be able to look away. The whispers of Dillon Gabriel being traded could be the knockout punch for anyone still doubting Shedeur Sanders. If Gabriel is moved, it won't just be a roster shuffle. It could be the official moment Sanders locks himself in as the future quarterback of the Browns, ushering in a whole new era for Cleveland football. But here's the big question. What do you think about the Browns putting their faith in Sanders as their next QB1? Would Gabriel's trade be the final move that cements Sanders' rise, or do you still see Gabriel fighting his way into a bigger role? And how do you think this competition between Sanders, Gabriel, and Flacco will reshape the entire direction of the team moving forward? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We need to hear what you got to say. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more breaking updates, and share this with anyone following the Browns drama. See you on the next one.